Give me that.
What's up, people? This Pastor B Love. Today I want to come with the topic, are we to keep the law of Moses? Are we under the law of Moses? Does this law apply to us today? So I want to state a few things first, read a few scriptures. And I'm going to say straight up that no, we are not under the law of Moses. We're not. So the first scriptures I want to read is in Deuteronomy chapter 5. I'm going to read verses 2 and 3. And this was Moses speaking to the congregation of Israel after their deliverance out of Egypt. And Moses had went up and wrote the law, delivered the law to the people. So he was saying to the Israelites, the Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. The Lord made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us who are all of us here alive this day. So he stated this was not to everyone, not to the whole world, but it was to Israel, to us, which was Israel. Because the Philistines did not keep this law. The Canaanites didn't keep this law. Jebusites or the Hezzites or whatever, nobody else kept this law but Moses, but Israel. All right? Now I want to establish also that the law is one complete system. It cannot be broken up, taking pieces out and whatever. We're going to keep that part but lose this part. And you know what I'm saying? It's one complete system. And it was not like how the Bible is, where the Bible is 66 different books written by, around about 40 different authors. The Bible, or the law of Moses, was written by Moses and was delivered by Moses only. And we see this in John, or St. John, chapter 1, verse 17 says, for the law was given by Moses. So we see it there. And then we'll see it again in John chapter 7, verse 19. When Jesus said to the people, he said, did not Moses give you the law, and yet none of you keepeth the law? Why go ye about to kill me? So we see again that the law was whole. It was complete. And it was all given by Moses at one time. Now, in the book of James, James states in chapter 2, verse 10, for whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. So we see the law cannot be broken up. He said if you're keeping the whole law and you offend in one point, then you're guilty of all. So it's one complete system that cannot be broken up into divisions, and we keep some and we, trash the rest or whatever. It's one. All right, now some other points I want to state. 1 Timothy 1 and 8, and it reads, but we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully. So when we're dealing with the law, there was a spirit of the law. There was a righteousness of the law, and that was the part that the Pharisees and the Sadducees, but mostly the Pharisees, had missed. For Jesus, yes, he did live under the law. He was born under the law. He had to keep the law. He came to fulfill the law. All right? But so he had to keep the law. And we say, well, if Jesus kept the law, shouldn't we keep the law? But Jesus was born an Israelite under the law of Moses. The law was given for a reason. Why was the law given? Romans chapter 7, he says this. All right, what shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. This is Romans chapter 7, verse 7. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law. For I had not known lust except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. But what he was saying was, the law established sin. Okay? It let men know what sin was. It let men know what was required to be righteous, or the righteousness that God required of man. And it lets you know what your shortcomings were. It pretty much, it exposed you. It exposed you. Just as if you walked into somebody's house and they never said anything and you want to light up a cigarette or put your feet on the couch or blast the TV or had a radio on or lead it, cut the air on, and they come in and say, all right, I got some rules for you. No smoking in the house, no putting your feet on the couch, don't be touching the thermostat. All right, now they have placed laws in place so when you come in, you know what's right, you know what's wrong, you know what's acceptable, you know what's not. So the law was given to show the weakness of man, to show that we could not obtain the righteousness that God required on our own. As the word said, it was a schoolmaster to lead us to Christ. It lets you know, man, I'm a sinner and I need help. So that's what the law does. It exposes your sin. Now, speaking about the spirit of the law, the righteousness of the law, as it says in Romans chapter 8, for what the law cannot do, and that it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own son in the form of sinful flesh and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us who walk not after the spirit, but after the flesh. So he said the righteousness of the law. There was the spirit of the law, there was righteousness that was there, but that is the part they were missing because they were keeping the letter. As it said right here in Romans chapter 1 and verse 7. But now we are delivered from the law, that being dead wherein we were held, that we should serve in newness of the spirit and not in the oldness of the letter. So that's what they were doing was they was keeping the letter of the law, but totally missed the spirit of the law, totally missed the righteousness that was really in the law. As Jesus said in Matthew 23 and 23, he said to them, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought you have done, and not to leave the other undone. He says again in Luke 11:42. Let's read what that one says. Luke 11:42 reads as follows. But woe unto you, Pharisees, for you tithe mint and rue and all manner of herbs, and pass over judgment and the love of God. These ought you have done, and not leave the other undone. So look, they kept the letter, but what was he saying? Yeah, you did keep the letter, but you're missing the point of the law. You're missing the point. You're missing the righteousness of it. You're missing the love of God in it. Only because, see, you're looking at the outward thing, what you're doing outwardly, but the inside is messed up. That's what's like when they told him before, it's not what a man eats that defiles him, it's what comes out of him that defiles him. He was letting them know. Because he even said in the one in Matthew about how, you clean the outside of the cup or whatever, but the inside is messed up, all of the stuff on the inside. And that's in Matthew 24 on down. Read the rest of the chapter. That's if you want to read that on your own in your spare time. All right, so another thing I want to point out is how he was saying with the woman, the widow, who paid the mites. And look what happened here. That's in Mark 12:42. And he says, verily I say unto you that this poor widow hath cast more in than all they which have cast into the treasury. For they did cast in of their abundance, but she of her want did cast in all that she had, even her living. So what they were doing, the other people were paying what they were required to pay by the law of Moses. That's what it was given. But see, she didn't give a tithe. She didn't give 20%. It says she gave all. This was an inside thing. This was a heart thing. And this is what Jesus is pointing out to them and said, look, she could have gave one. That would have been 50%, and she could have kept one. But she gave all that she had. This is the point he was pointing out. The righteousness of the law. The point that was missing. All right? So are we under the law? I'm going to go to Galatians. What does Paul say about this? If you know anything about the book of Galatians, it was given during the time of, in our Bibles, Acts chapter 15, where They wanted to circumcise the people and put them under the law of Moses in order to be saved. And a thing arose about, hold on, why we have to circumcise them? So it all came up. Let me go to that real quick. It came up when Peter said finally, and this is Acts chapter 15, about putting these people under the law. When they had, it said it was a dispute. And he says in 15:7, and when there had been much disputing, Peter rose up and said unto them, Men and brethren, you know how that a good while ago God made choice among us, that the Gentiles by my mouth should hear the word of the gospel and believe. And God, which knoweth the hearts, bear them witness, giving them the Holy Ghost, even as he did us, and put no difference between us and them, purifying their hearts by faith. Now therefore, why tempt ye God to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we are able to bear? But we believe that through the grace of the Lord Jesus, we shall be saved, even as they. So this is the time when Paul wrote Galatians, during this incident in Acts chapter 15 about grace and law. So Paul, he goes on to say in Galatians, and in chapter 4:21, at one point he says to them, Tell me, ye that desire to be under the law, do you not hear the law? For it is written that Abraham had two sons, the one by the bondmaid, the other by the free woman. But he who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh, but he of the free woman was by promise, which things are an allegory, for there are two covenants, the one from Mount Sinai, which gendereth to bondage, which is Agar, for this Agar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answereth to Jerusalem, which now is, and is in bondage with her children. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us. So he was telling them again, why do you want to be under the law? Why do you want to be under the law? He says in Galatians chapter 3, when he starts it out with, O foolish Galatians, who have bewitched you, that you should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Jesus Christ has been evidently set forth, crucified among you. Right? This only would I learn of you. Receive ye the Spirit by works of the law, or by the hearing of faith? Are you so foolish, having begun in the Spirit? Are you now made perfect by the flesh? Have ye suffered so many things in vain? If it be yet in vain? Again, he's trying to tell them, why do you want to be under the law? You're delivered from the law. It tells us all through Romans, dare I read some of it, that we are not under the law. We're not under the law. I'm going to do some more parts on this. I just want to state this point right now, that I was really just saying that the law was not given to the world, it was given to Israel, and that too, the law is a complete system that cannot be broken up. It is a complete system. You cannot break the law. So this is just the first part. I'm going to go into it more.
What I'm about to say is true, but everybody will not quite. The world is like a punch.